Lirushmat Davim Berivka, Lirushmat to my beloved's wife, father who passed away about a year ago, Rabbi Chai Demike Rafik Ben Frida. Should have easy aliyah to Gan Eden. Okay, guys, we started. We're continuing with our book, Praying with Fire, number 2. This caption is without a doubt. So he starts like this. I worked hard, did careful research, and made sound decisions. That's how he became wealthy, says a person, yeah? Says Mr. Rubin told his young protege. Indeed, Mr. Rubin was a confirmed workaholic who seemed to only stop for breath on Shabbat and Yamim Tavim. Meaning, only on Yom Tov and Shabbat did he stop. Otherwise, he worked all the time to make the money. His BlackBerry kept him in constant touch with the ups and downs of his vast business holdings, luring him to a quick peek at his messages during davening. He was so busy that when he was praying Mincha and Aravit, he would check to see, what's going on in his BlackBerry, or in our cases, our iPhone nowadays. Even on his rare family vacations, he was constantly in touch with his office, always worried that disaster would strike the moment he let go of the tight control he insisted on maintaining. So basically he's saying that a person, a workaholic, he's constantly, working, everything's under control. The minute he leaves, he's thinking, maybe something's going to happen, yeah? He says, for Mr. Rubins of the world, the financial collapse that shook America and reverberated throughout the economic system of the world in September 2008 thoroughly belied their lifelong assumptions. The thought that one's efforts and skills create one's wealth proved itself to be damaging illusion that distracts one's focus and energies from the true source of a person's financial success, which is Hashem. He's saying that in 2008 we had the collapse of the stock market, yeah? Many people lost money. Many people. Big people became little people overnight. So he's saying what? He's saying this whole person thinks everything is under his control and so on and so forth, could come crashing down like what? In one day, yeah? It says while people are making their calculations, Hashem is turning the wheels of prosperity and poverty. Yeah, people sitting here, okay, I made this much this year, I'm going to Bezat Hashem make this much. He says Hashem over there is saying who's going to be rich, who's going to be poor. This extraordinary collapse, precipitated by a free fall in the housing and credit markets, acted like a large neon flashing light in the heavens, crying out to the world that there is nothing but Hashem. He says Hashem, through these 2008, September 11, he shows that I know. There's no COVID, there's nobody and nothing that's making any calculation except heaven above. The most stable, venerable names on Wall Street, toppled like sandcastles. He says over here in the note, he says companies such as Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Merrill Lynch, 158-year-old investment banking companies, 94-year-old investment banking companies, AIG, the biggest insurance company. He says they all collapsed, but AIG was saved by the government and the banking system, whatever. But I'm saying, he says 160-year-old company went down overnight. Yeah? He says, in fact, 8.3 trillion in shareholder wealth and 2 trillion in pension plans had been lost in 12 months ending September 2008. Meaning, a lot of people lost money. He says, Warren Buffett, the wealthiest American, called the situation an economic Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor changed everything. He says this was an economic Pearl Harbor. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan said, once in a century, this was a credit tsunami, has engulfed financial markets. It became glaringly apparent that no amount of assets, no amount of experience, no amount of talent, no connections, no skill is a guarantee to financial success. Meaning your financial success depends only on Hashem himself. If he wants, you'll be rich. And if he doesn't want, You won't be rich.
Why he doesn't?
That's a different shiur. As stark as this situation is, however, it should not arouse us to fear and panic. It says, don't be scared, don't panic. Why? For a Jew, it is all simply a graphic representation of the essential linchpin of our emunah, which is Ein Od Mi'Levado. Yeah, there is nothing but Hashem. Ein Od Mi'Levado. We should engrave this in our minds. The economic disaster has the potential to recalibrate our compasses and point towards northward. Yeah, meaning compass is what? Compass is a person sees where's east, north, this, that. He says disasters like this recalibrate, recalculating route to show what? Only look up. It's only Hashem, which for a Jew is always and only our Father in heaven. To the degree that a person can build within himself a full faith of Hashem's singular control over every occurrence, including his earning a livelihood, that individual is freed from any other factor influencing his faith. He says when a person realizes that everything is in the hands of Hashem, everything, every dollar that you make from Hashem. Yeah, it looks like you went to college and you made money and you this and you just thought about this and you invented this and yeah, it's me, but it's not really you. He made it that you think of this invention and whatever to make the money that you're making. An episode in the Gemara and an incident involving the Brisker Rav provide vivid illustrations of this concept. The Gemara relates that a sorceress covertly sought to remove dust from the beneath of Rav Chanina ben Dosa's feet in order to kill him through witchcraft. Yeah, in the Gemara it says that she wanted to get some dust from under his feet to kill Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Rav Chanina told her, please take the dust. Your formula will not succeed because it is written, Ein Od Mi'Levado. There is none besides him. Expounding on this incident, the Gemara explains that Rabbi Chanina's superior degree of merit granted him heavenly protection against the powers of witchcraft. You hear? Meaning Rabbi Chanina was so much in connection with Hashem, he said, nothing is going to hurt me. This statement prompted Rav Chaim of Volozhin to explain that it was not Rabbi Chanina's great stature in Torah learning that granted him this merit. No, rather, it was his complete belief in Ein Od Mi'Levado. I don't care about anything. I know that there is none other besides him, besides Hashem. That no other force whatsoever can interfere with Hashem's control on the universe. It's recording. Yes. Therefore, Rav Chaim advises a person must make himself completely dependent on Hashem, paying no heed to any other power or will in the world. When he truly does this, then just as Rabbi Chanina, Hashem will cause all forces and desires in the world to be null and void against him. And none of these will have any effect on him whatsoever. He states that the words Ein Od Mi'Levado, said with great conviction, stand as full and potent merit to protect one from any harm. When a person, but again, remember we said the other day, he thinks he wants to win 10,000 rubles, remember? He said, I'm going to get 10,000 rubles. He said, what if I give you 5 for the 10,000? He said, okay, which means you didn't believe in the 10,000 rubles. Here also, a person has to understand, Ein Od Mi'Levado, there is none other than Hashem himself that controls everything. A story involving the Brisker Rav illustrates that when the words Ein Od Mi'Levado are said with complete conviction, they serve as protection from even the greatest dangers. So he says when Rav Velvel, which was the nickname given to the Brisker Rav, he was of the draft age. Yeah, in Russia, in whatever they had the draft age. You come, you into the army. He was called for an interview by the local draft board. It was not an easy matter to obtain a release, and being drafted posed both physical and spiritual threat to Rav Velvel. On the appointed day, Rav Chaim of Brisk, along with his son, traveled a great distance to a small town and an office of the draft board. On the way, he sat his son together and concentrated on the thought, Ein Od Mi'Levado. Meaning he sat his son, he said, no, just think, Ein Od Mi'Levado, that what? There is no power besides him. And he told him, he said, you constantly think in your mind, there's no power besides him. No power besides him. Rav Chaim told his son to continue following his ancestors' advice and to concentrate on this thought, that what? There is no any power other than Hashem. And what happened? He said at the end, they let him go. They said, okay, you don't have to go to the army. Yesterday, person Ashul told me, did you ever read the story of Rubashkin? I said, no, I didn't have a chance to read the book. So he says that Rubashkin went through such difficulty. 8 years he spent in jail. 8 years he spent in jail. And he had 17 more years to go. So there was one lawyer from California. He threw everything and he started working for free. He said, this is a ridiculous case. I'm going to work for free. Wow. It came out that when they went, and after, I think like the 8th Circuit Court, whatever the highest court that they can do for a retrial, they said, judgment stays, finished. We're not going to retry anything. And when he heard this, he came into the room, he said, you know what? Hashem, there's nobody besides you. And whatever it is, it is. He said that night came the pardon of Trump. And he said he already, that's it. He said, Hashem, that's exactly what you want. That's what it is. Meaning, can you imagine getting the notice that you have to spend another 17 years in jail? And that's it. This was finished. That, with all the efforts that you tried to make, he didn't lose hope. He went in, he said, Hashem, I know, you're in control of the world. So if that's how you control the world, so he writes in the book that they used to do check-in of the rooms. And usually the check-in rooms, the keys would hit the ting, 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 right? This time, he hears people walking, and there's no ting, 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 straight coming into his cell. And he says, okay, Davai, get your stuff, let's go. He's like, where are we going? It's like, no questions, no nothing, get out. So he's thinking, okay, tell me what I did. Because, they used to put him solitary confinement, they used to beat him up, they used to this, food like that, and he used to stand there like finally he doesn't understand what's going on. He's palpitating hard, thinking, what now could they do to me? Comes into the warden's office, another guy, assistant warden there. It's like, can you tell me what's going on? But nobody says anything. Finally, after a couple of minutes, they said, you're free to go. Why? When he heard that, can you imagine what goes through your heart when you hear that? And why? Because he held on to Hashem, said, Hashem, whatever this is, I know it's you. You are, like we said, blind person being led by Hashem. Remember what we said? We said blind. Somebody's leading the blind people and everybody behind him like a soldier. That's exactly how it's very, I would have been out. I would break to pieces. I would say, Hashem doesn't exist and whatever, but you have to have such an emunah to live it through, to go 8 years through that and say, no, there's no power besides Hashem. And that's what he's saying, Ein Od Mi'Levado. So to summarize, one must focus on that all of his energies on the true source of success is Hashem. Nothing is through our hands, zero. It says the words Ein Od Mi'Levado, there is no other besides him, are powerful protection in times of danger. And we should always have this in our minds. There's a house over here. He's a big Ein Od Mi'Levado guy. Yeah, all over his house says he has a license, plaques, makes whatever. Ein Od Mi'Levado. Rav Chaim Volozhin and Rav Chaim of Brisk both recommend concentrating on these words when in time of need. And in general, that there's nothing greater than Hashem. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen.